You're listening to Errol Parker and Clancy Overall, editors of the Betoota Advocate, on Desert Rock FM. Thank you for tuning in to the Betoota Advocate radio show. This is a post-record. You're hearing from me now. It's Clancy Overall, editor of the Betoota Advocate. And I'm just here to give you the context of this compilation interview that we're bringing to you this week. It's actually from a couple of weeks back during the Splendour In The Grass festival, where, and all credit to Splendour In The Grass with everything that was going on, were generous enough to give the Betoota Advocate a media tent and give us access to some of the performing artists. It was Wendell Hussey, myself, and Effie Bateman up there, braving the mud. Of course, not as brave as some of those kids out there in the campsites. We were lucky enough to have a bit of AstroTurf in the media area. But yeah, it was a great weekend. The kids had a lot of fun, and the artists were happy to be back performing. We've washed the mud off our boots, and we're back to work in the Channel Country. And here are the interviews that we pulled off. Obviously, it's a junket format at these music festivals. People are in and out of your tents. So we've compiled our greatest hits, starting with Methyl Ethel, the magical voice from WA. Welcome back to the Betoota Advocate radio show, live from North Byron Parklands. Some thought we'd never do it. Some thought it was, in fact, selling out for us to attend an event like this alongside the media classes and, of course, the vultures that make up the Australian music industry. But we're here, and it's mainly because we've been here before. This will be like the third time we've been here. So
yeah, and look, I think, as you know, Clancy, in media, no matter how high up you get, people can't say no to free shit. No. And so a trip to Splendour, people just don't say no to it.
Yeah, and it was a sacrifice, really, for us. We were left a beautiful, dry Queensland Channel Country to come. And this place is wet, but, you know, we're doing it for the kids. The show will go on. And no one's working harder here than the musicians. And today we've got some premier talent. We've got Jake from Methyl Ethel. Thank you for joining us. You've had a big flight here.
It was a long flight. And I must say, I mean, hardworking and musicians aren't often two things that go together. You know, I wouldn't necessarily say the musicians are doing all the heavy lifting, but there's work being done, I suppose, by then.
Yeah, I suppose for 3 days you're working pretty hard here. Yeah. But even then, we're in kind of an artist area and everyone seems to have a beer in their hand.
Yeah. Seems to be a lot of fun going on, I'd say.
Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't understate the hard work of the festival organisers here. They were up. The first night got cancelled, they were up all night with trucks of sand and Subaru trash pumps. It was like the Rotary Club were out there, and they
are copping it.
They're copping it. They're copping a bit of flack, but you know, the show goes on, and this is what we have remembered post-pandemic, is sometimes you don't just shut everything down. Sometimes, I mean, pandemics is very different to a weather event, but mud hasn't stopped anyone before, and the show goes on. Now, I want to talk to you about what you've been up to throughout the last couple of years. I mean, you've probably been hit as hard as any other artist. Were you in the North Korean caliphate of Western Australia for most of this, or?
I was, yeah. And, I mean, I just decided to make a record, you know? And so what it did afford me is the opportunity to stop doing anything but just make music. I've said to people before that I feel like I gained 5 years in 2 years of just like experience doing the one thing without being interrupted by or having to rush things through.
Probably not living as heavily as well with 2 years off the scene probably gained you 5 years as well, didn't it?
Less hotel rooms, less flights, you know, less pre-show, after-show, bump in, bump out. Like
the thing is that since opening back up, that real cheeseball like appreciation for it all is a real thing. You know, just going to the airport and thinking, oh, this is we're actually doing things.
This is what life was like.
Yeah.
Talk Louder. Talk Louder is a single you've just released conveniently in time for Splendour. Is this kind of you telling everyone you're back?
I mean, I put the last record that I put out was only a couple of months ago.
And that was a pandemic record too.
I mean, the pandemic record. I don't like to call it really a pandemic record. No, because I was gearing, you know, it was going to get made anyway.
Yeah, right.
But the record label, Future Classic, are really keen for me to put out the sort of music as I feel it, kind of, which is really great, and that's sort of why it's come out as well.
So would you say this recent work, be it this single and the record, aren't informed by the historical event that we were living in? Do you reckon that was something that was just kind of happening in your evolution as a musician?
I mean, it's nothing that I make is like isolated like that.
Yeah, right.
It's that, I mean, it's the vacuum thing. say it how you want to put it, but it's just like it definitely is affected by it. But this is all boring stuff, isn't it? Where's the hard hitting?
You want to ask about what's going on?
About drugs and shit, and like hotel rooms, and Have you ever thrown a TV off a balcony? I want to ask now about influences, right? When I first heard your music, and someone would have said this to you before, and I hope it's not offensive, I don't think it should be, I was thinking that you were a sample. I thought you were stripped off something from the 1960s. I thought you were Nancy Sinatra.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, no one said that, but that's I like that.
Yeah. It's a particular sound that you have, and I can't imagine it's come from, youth choir. Where do you think you kind of have been inspired most as an actual, something coming out of your mouth? Yeah.
When I started this project, I did want it to be ambiguous, what the gender and who the voice was.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to keep it sort of not like how DJs and Daft Punk and those sorts of people have the mask thing. It was more just I didn't see it. It was a recording project that I didn't think it was necessary for you to know who it was, and then it sort of means that I can be anyone that I want to be. I feel like I've been singing for a long time, since I was a kid, but I find it's almost easier to put on other voices than to kind of try to find who the true me is. It's easier to kind of put in what fits or what the idea, if it is a Nancy Sinatra song or something, I don't know.
Do you feel you're a performer in that sense of the word?
I guess so.
Yeah. You're not like where do
I
you
don't want to be. I don't want to be me.
You don't want to be an artiste.
I don't want to present myself like that kind of person next door. Like, they're just up there, you can see, what their life is. No, I don't. I want it to be more theatre than that.
Do you have like an alter ego, like a Ziggy Stardust?
Oh, I mean, it's too. I think the alter ego is more just like trance. Like it's kind of whatever happens when I kind of try to. Sometimes I will literally pinch myself or like tear at my own skin on stage to like shake myself into some kind of like
right
to get there, know.
Mm-hmm.
This is pretty pretentious.
No. It's we don't.
That's how the magic happens,
and we don't know how your game works. So this is actually quite insightful. I do want to ask, in this day and age, right? Social media, most people have access to their favourite artists, their favourite musicians. They have unbridled access. You know what? On this is like autobiographies don't sell like they used to. The cricket captain, the Australian cricket captain would always release an autobiography every year or every captainship. Yeah. That would be good for $1 million advance, and it was a good little
kids books now, right?
Yeah. That's it, because everyone has so much access to them. They don't need to know about your story. We can look up your stats. We can look up everything online, and I feel like musicians have that too. Where once upon a time, it was you go to their shows, you maybe meet and greets were a thing, and are you trying to actively slice or cut off that access they have to you? Is that what you're kind of saying here? You don't want to be, you don't want them to know you.
Well, yes, 100%. But I think the social media game is its own thing as well. That's kind of got out of control. I don't do any of the social media that anymore as of I kind of bowed out completely recently.
Yeah, right.
And I've never really, I don't have it personally either, so it sort of just is fine for me. But I love talking to people at shows, especially travelling outside of Australia. It's a lot easier. The shows are a lot smaller as well, so you can sort of hold a conversation with people. So I do love that, and because I really more and more feel the relationship that I wouldn't be in that place without those people. So I kind of want to respect that as well, and I think there's so much to learn from those people.
From an honest conversation, not from Beatlemania.
Yeah, not from Beatlemania.
Do you have a typical fan? Like, is there you could stereotype a fan, or?
I couldn't say really.
Yeah, it's just all sort of mixed bunch.
The age as well goes. Yeah, it's quite wide ranging.
And that's a sound as well. You can't really put that in. I can't even put you into the WA thing, which everyone.
That's good.
Yeah. Because I'm
with
sure
all due respect,
with all due respect to my comrades,
they might not let me back in my G2G path.
The Democratic Republic. Would you say though, just personally, you've been kind of influenced by those gangs? Like, are you Freo or are you Perth?
I am Perth by choice, Freo by birth.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Why Perth by choice?
I just am drawn more to the city because I didn't grow up there.
Yeah. Okay.
So I like to live in the Northbridge, which is a suburb kind of just north of the CBD. And I don't know, it is just that thing where you just drawn to what is not familiar, but I live currently in Freo basically.
Yeah, right. Did Kevin Parker tap you on the shoulder when you were a boy?
And say you will be... No, so Kevin's... I think Kevin's a...
There's a generational gap there. Oh, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're close.
Yeah, right.
In age.
Yeah.
But it was more like... I think the inspiration is more that everybody... When I started playing in bands and things, and you sort of just play in everyone would play in everyone's bands. It was more like the sense of community was that everyone was just working on music all the time, and everybody was just out there playing shows, and it wasn't an ambition to sort of be a star or anything. It was just to make music.
It was kind of like the town's industry, right? Like you got Newcastle, the Steel City. Like Freo has that. Like people make music in Freo.
It did feel like that.
Yeah.
And I guess now I sort of spend more time on my own, that I don't really have that same sense of community, But
where do a lot of those interactions happen? Because it seems like there are so many artists out of Freo. Is it like, are we talking bars, different setups, little gig venues, or is it more just like you get in touch with each other at parties and stuff and you kind of finding each other that way? Like what does the scene look like in Freo?
From my experience, it was like I went to uni with Nick, who plays in Pond and played with Tame for a while.
We've got Nick later on in here. He'll be coming through again. Third interview with Nick.
But I don't know. It was just like, so uni that introduced me to sort of some people who were playing shows, and it was kind of pretty organic, that thing. But it's more that there aren't that many people, and the people who are playing music tend to just, I don't know, coagulate or something.
Yeah.
Well, you've been very generous, and you've shared a lot with us here in the height of a catastrophic weather event. I've just seen, she looks like a lovely person. I'm not going to call her a vulture, but some sort of Labor representative just tapped on the plastic slide. But yeah, Jake, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so
much. These are all the questions we wanted to ask you, and you answered them. So thank you for coming along, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Flagmantle 2022.
Let's go. International. Let's go. Interesting yarn there, of course. And it was a great show by Methyl, Ethel. And the next interview we did here is Amyl and the Sniffers, Melbourne band. A meteoric rise we're witnessing right now. They really, really are bringing punk back to Australian pubs and even bigger venues than that. Splendour In The Grass is a pretty big gig. Welcome back again to the Betoota Advocates Not Live radio podcast series out of Splendour In The Grass, Byron Bay. There's a hell of a lot more water around than there is in the Western Queensland Channel Country. Cutting through the northern rivers, these people are resilient, these people are strong. The festival organisers, I would say the same thing about them. I cannot imagine the pressure they've been under, but the show goes on. And one of the shows that everyone's lining up to watch will be brought to you by our two guests today here. We have Amy and Declan from Amyl and the Sniffers. We are so excited to have them in here. We're actually feeling a little bit touched that they were willing to give us the time on their grueling media junket. Thank you, Jody, as well, the label person standing next to me. We were getting to know the ins and outs of festival culture.
Yep.
And we're all really, really pissed. So let's get into it. How are we, guys?
Yeah, good.
Really good, thanks.
Can you tell us a little bit about this world you're living in here that we're obviously newcomers to? How do you get by? How do you Amy, for example, you want to go to bed. What's the plan here?
I'm like, oh God, I want to go to bed. Then I try and get out of there, and then I go to bed.
All right, you're not stuck in any kind of long haul.
Sometimes you're stuck in a long haul, and I just think I'm fucking tired. I got no time for anyone. People are talking to me. I think you're a fucking prick, and then I got to go to bed. When I'm ready for bed, I'm ready for bed.
Can I just say though, like I've seen you on stage and you were bending, you were like a pretzel. So like where does this energy come from?
I don't know, I just got lots of it, makes me bounce around.
Yeah, nice. I can't wait to see you guys.
Now, we're obviously here at the zenith of Australian music, but I wanted to go back a couple of years. Giddy up.
Nice.
Let's talk early days of Amyl and the Sniffers. How did you meet and where did you come from?
We met at a pub in Melbourne called Grace Darling. Amy and Bryce were already friends, and I was drunk there with them, and that's how we became friends. And then I ended up moving in with Amy and Bryce and Callum, our original bass player, and we set up a recording studio in the house and recorded Giddy Up.
Nice.
Right,
Yeah.
That was it. It was
it.
Pillows on the windows.
Nah.
No?
Nah.
Yeah, there was a drum kit already set up in my room that I think I bought for maybe like $150 or something. And then we got home from what we were doing that day, and everyone set their stuff up, and we're like, oh, let's write something because we want to play music. And then we just recorded it and put it out.
And it feels like it was almost from bang, you were in pubs every night. Was there a little bit of a hustle, a little bit of a
No,
grind?
we were already in pubs every night, just not performing yet.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, straight away we got a gig booked, and by the time that gig came around, we'd already played 2 more before that. So I don't know, people just kept booking us.
We didn't play for long though, because I mean that EP goes for 6 minutes, and then we'd try and cover a different song, and that's 8 minutes, and then a bit of banter 10 minutes, and that's it. So
Not the longest show. Now, question, Amyl and the Sniffers, what are we talking for the inspiration for that name? Where did that come from?
well, Amyl was something you sniff, and the boys really like sniffing Amyl, and my name's Amy Louise, and they'd go clubbing, and then sniff, and off you go. Also,
Yeah.
I guess I
Yeah,
really.
I didn't even think of your name, of course.
No, Amy, Amyl, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Amy
But on my
Louise.
license, it's Amyl because of the letter L, so next to the Amy's.
Yeah.
But as well,
So
it's
you're
like,
Amyl and they are the Sniffers.
We
Yeah.
are the Sniffers.
Yeah.
But as well, our songs go for like a really short amount of time, and then they give you a headache. So
Oh, bless.
I feel like if you were in like the original punk era, like it would naturally open for like butthole surfers. It makes sense.
well, we would open for the butthole.
yeah, you open for the butthole.
That's the whole purpose of Amyl.
Butthole service would open for us.
Yeah. Can I ask? Are you playing Knifey?
Yes.
That's okay. So, I have actually gotten in trouble because I actually got a knife keyring sent to work because I was going to put it on my keychain. I'm like, if any fucker comes towards me, I'm going to fucking knife them.
Yeah.
So when I heard that song, I'm like, you know what? Amy and I are going to get along
Yeah.
because we just want to be able to knife people.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
You should
I tell
get
you
in
some other
trouble for
tricks. You
it.
can take a guitar string and put it around their neck
Oh,
behind them.
I love that.
You can get
yeah.
a can of nice. What's that deodorant called?
Oh,
Please,
I've got
please
impulse.
say impulse.
Impulse.
Ah!
Impulse and a lighter.
I've actually got my impulse spray in my bag.
'Cause
I
you
can
don't
show
take
you
shit.
to like exactly because
Exactly.
we can't have pepper spray
No.
right in the eyeballs.
Impulsive flamethrower.
This
Yeah.
Good spirits.
This
Yeah.
is too much of a coincidence because when we found out she had a knife keyring because the streets of Betoota were working late in the newsroom, she, it's dodgy area down there and then the old city district. Knife keyring, we did make it clear to her that you might get in a fair bit of curry for that.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
you shouldn't, but you will.
Yeah.
And she went with the impulse.
I
She
went with
came-
it. Yes.
Nice.
Loophole.
The knife
And then you
keyring
smell
was an
delightful.
impulse buy.
And then it is called romantic spark though, and I'm like, I don't know if that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That might just
It's like you
encourage
attract
them.
them and then you fuck them up.
Yeah.
Romantic sparks the lighter you put in front of it before you spray it. Well, thanks for joining us, guys. Are you feeling like you're back in the groove post-historical event?
Yeah, because we've been on tour for like 3 months, so we
Yeah.
just got off the back of 46 shows, and then we've done
Nice.
another 4 already.
Okay. So that's,
I mean,
that's the groove. There's no
we're
back
we're deep in the groove. We might not sound like it live, but we're in the groove.
Right into it. Well, thank you for joining us. Some of Melbourne's finest, and this weekend some of North Byron Parkland's finest. Amy Declan, we love your stuff.
Thank you. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
I
guys.
can't wait to see you guys. It'll be
Hell yeah,
amazing.
bye.
Now, as we're still on that punk tip, let's talk to the Sunny Coast lads, known as the Chats. Well. Some of the loudest Sunshine Coast haze is blaring inside our tent here at Splendour in the Grass. We're surrounded by, outside of Clive Palmer, some of the biggest names to come out of that region, be that hinterland or coast. Sunshine Coast's favourite. I hope I'm right here.
Yeah, I think so.
Ever since you come up, I was like, it's good to see Sunny Coast getting one away.
When would be the last big act from Sunny Coast? Who else?
Dale Shearer, former Brisbane Bronco,
Yep.
rode his car Porsche off Perugian, wrapped it around a pole, he survived, he walked out. That was the last time.
That's our storming ground.
That's the last time anything really kind of happened up that way, until the Chats came along, right?
And it's a big announcement.
Right. So we're going to get in like a fatal car crash and top the cunt.
I think the lead singer from the Skyhooks fucking drove his helicopter into a fucking mountain out there.
Oh yeah, was it a Glasshouse Mountain?
No,
You
it
probably
was
didn't
like,
see it.
It was like further, yeah. But it was up like hinterland of like Perugian and stuff, like Black Mountain, I'm pretty sure.
So you boys it's a Perugian boys.
Yeah.
Cool
Let's be
and
honest here.
Perugian.
How did you get into music? Was it through Hillsong?
Definitely not. Let's just clarify that.
Yeah, I guess my dad a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he was big into Hillsong.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Was he?
No.
Or is he a 10-pound pom that loved guitars?
No, he's not Pom. His
an old
parents
rocker.
were like African, and he was, just loved Radio Birdman, the Saints and that. You know, like old Aussie rock.
Yeah, Radio Birdman. I can envision your old boy.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
Birdman.
Yeah. Leathery rock god.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
love
yeah.
We love Birdman here.
Well, what I want to ask, boys, is how have these last couple of years been for you? I'm guessing you've been based in Queensland where you haven't been touched too much by all this.
Brisbane mostly.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, moved there after school. And I mean, like, you mean like the COVID years, right?
Yeah, I mean like this major historical event we've been living through since 2019, December.
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Like, we had it all right. Yeah, we could still like hang out and make tunes and record and that.
It didn't exist in Queensland for what, 18 months?
Well,
that's what everyone was
2 years,
saying.
really?
It
Yeah.
hates the heat. We know one thing about this thing. It hates the heat.
Queenslanders are built different. We're built different.
Yeah, built different. So that's been good. But have you been performing much?
Yeah, well,
Lately, yeah.
Yeah, well, last year we did all like a big like regional sort of like run, and we did like all like North Queensland, like regional Victoria, regional New South Wales sort of stuff, and it was unreal. We got to play like pubs that they usually don't, they usually have fucking cover bands play there,
Yeah.
and like
So they were disappointed when we came along.
yeah.
They wanted Akadaka.
Yeah, they were like, what's this shit?
A funny story about that: we actually played in Laurenton, in rural New South Wales.
Yeah. And they thought we were an AC/DC cover band.
Yeah,
They
we,
were
rocked up to, we played in RSL.
Did you?
And-
we should have played into it, looking back.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great opportunity to indulge.
That's not even where it started. Like the load-in time was actually exactly like the tail end of a wake, and for this guy who actually passed away in the pub, and apparently he choked on a steak and had a heart attack.
And then his son-in-law comes up and goes, "Hey, is it all right if you just dedicate pub feed to me dead dad-in-law tonight?" We said that feels a little insensitive, but all right.
So emotions were high.
But we did a bunch of Australia stuff last year, and then this year we've been able to go back to UK, Europe, USA.
It's been unreal.
Yeah.
How's that going?
Yeah,
Great.
really.
How old are you lads?
Me and Matt are 23, he's 24.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
24, yeah.
Fuck, you must have come out pretty young.
We started
Were you
then when
20
we
yet?
were in grade 12.
Yeah, right. Okay.
How are the parents when you were starting in grade 12? Were they like,
They were like, this sucks. Like,
yeah,
like,
you're not going?
You need, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we weren't, everyone was like that actually.
My mum
but-
loved it because like that's how I got into music, because she's from the Northern Beaches, like listen to like Celibate Rifles and Birdman and all those sort of bands,
But-
and like
but
I
they-
saw these guys before I was in the band. They were like, "Fuck, these guys are sick."
But like, they're like, you should be focusing more on, and they were completely right in saying this, that you focus more on shit that'll actually get you a job.
Yeah.
And we're like, definitely.
Well, I don't know.
But then we
You
got
know,
we got
mining
real lucky.
boom's over.
Yeah.
We've got limited options here.
Yeah.
Mining Boom and Clive Palmer, we just talked about that. I imagine you guys are a little bit more popular than Clive Palmer with
Nah, not
tradies.
on the sunny coast.
Not on the sunny coast?
Well, the former member of Fairfax, mate, he got enough votes to enter Parliament.
Yeah.
The sunny coast is an interesting part of the world because you do have what I would say in some parts it's getting very Gold Coasty. It's like a proper tourism transient kind of community.
Yeah, it is now.
And then you get back into the hinterland a little bit, and you're dealing with some real old-fashioned sandalwood fucking markets.
It's
Your
definitely-
Monday.
Yeah, hippie.
Yeah,
sort of
Kevin
shit.
Rudd country.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking weird like that. Like, getting all parts of it are getting like real gentrified, and then there's like those cunts who are like, have guns and shit.
Yeah. Nice banjos.
Yeah.
They grow their own product out the back, and they
and
they don't need to go down into
and
town.
it's good as that.
Yeah. I can smell it right now. Copperhead Road shit.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about what's happening now for you guys moving forward. I mean, you've already been overseas off the back of this pandemic. You're not at that age where we're worried about you guys kind of burning out. 23, you're in your prime right now.
Yeah, I mean, we probably burn out, what, like 26?
Yeah.
Die 27, that's the
I
plan.
can't believe
Join the club.
Yeah.
that's the that's a rock music thing. If you're not familiar, it happened to a lot of famous people, namely
Brian Jones,
Brian Jones, White Light
Janis
Fury.
Joplin.
Jim Morrison.
Yeah.
Yeah, and soon to be the Chats.
Yeah, it's going to be all three of you at once. Mexican standoff. They've all got guns. They're in the back of fucking your Monday.
Yeah.
One of them choked on a
Death
steak.
by Misadventure.
Yeah.
Choked on a steak at dinner before. And then,
Just
and then the
a
guns
really
went
long
off.
chip that we were all sharing.
Too many beers at Chase Waterhole. Or something, yeah.
Is there a bit of a sense of that, or are you guys just ripping in and living for now, and who knows?
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, day by day, like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially like during COVID, we thought like, live music might not be a thing anymore. But then it's like, you know, we're able to actually do it again. Yeah. We were lining up other jobs, like, you know, this is not looking great.
Everyone had to rethink everything for
Yeah.
a little while there. I want to ask, and we've just come through a fucking brutal federal election, which no one gives a fuck about anymore. But you guys would be aware that the Betoota Advocate has at times ruffled the feathers of Hillsong establishment,
which is fantastic.
And that's kind of, I guess, at the peak of the great undoing of our last government. You guys came through with a stellar, what would you call it? It was like a bedroom kind of improvised video.
Yeah, it was a song that I'd written maybe a couple days before Christmas 2020.
Yeah.
Or Christmas 2019.
Bushfires.
Yeah, that's right. So we'd been in the UK for a while, and we were like seeing all this shit happen at home, just freaking out. And then we got home, and the bushfires like real close to my house, and we had to evacuate and all that. Luckily, it was all fine. But you know, I was just pissed off, and I'd made that song, and I was like, not gonna post it or nothing, because I was like, you know, this is a bit, it's not like our kind of thing, but.
We're not Midnight Oil, man.
Yeah. True. But no, mates were just like, oh, it's, you know, it's great, you should post it, and I did, and for some reason it just started going nuts.
Did you find your audience kind of change off the back of that? Did you find you kind of got a little bit more of an anarchist tinge, or was that always the people you were fucking bringing to your gigs? Were they always a little bit punk?
I mean, mostly, but there'd be like some old cunts like, you know, you're just gonna stick to the tunes, boys. You know?
Stay out of politics, fellas.
Yeah.
Music's never been political. Bob Dylan, mate, that's a good artist.
I just like Rage Against the Machine. Before
That Bed's a Burning song, Jesus, a tune.
Yeah, Bob Dylan was good in a political sense in his own right. He was doing what Eamon did, you know, but probably more consistently.
Yeah, he's good night. All right, we're going to wrap up now. We got the bouncer. He's giving me greases, actually.
He's putting the knuckle dusters on.
What's his name?
Big Al.
Big
Al
Al.
and O'Neill. Bring Al.
I thought they would have called you Tiny. Can we put Big Al on?
No, it's got me Tiny. It's 3 months old, mate.
Oh, he's really kind of tightening the screws on me here. I might have to wrap this one up. Thank you to Chats.
Thank you, Betoota.
It's great to see some Queenslander boys have a go. And how good was Wednesday 2 weeks ago?
Come on.
Oh,
too good.
Fuck me, I'm still barred up. Saw Goxie outside too, another great Queensland man. G'day, Goxie.
Yeah.
Goxie and Big Al, you should pack the scrum together.
We already have.
It's a great time to introduce our new singer.
Thanks for joining us, boys, and all the best.
Thanks,
fellas.
Thank you.
That was a great yarn there, those boys. We weren't lying. They were smoking a rather high-grade strain of cannabis inside our media tent, which might explain why this next interview with the Freo Kings from Pond was a little bit more chilled. Welcome back to day 2, technically. In theory, it's day 3 of Splendour in the Grass. The Betoota Advocate still in fine form. Mm-hmm. Energy levels are high, spirits are high. The kids have done 2 years in lockdown. They've done their formals over Zoom and Skype. They missed schoolies. They missed out on a lot of formative milestones, but they weren't going to let a bit of mud get in the way of that pressure valve that so desperately needed to be released, which is Splendour in the Grass 2022. And we too have remained committed to our task at hand, which is interviewing an assortment of artists. Mm-hmm. And today's guests, Wendell, I would like to thank them for effectively justifying us having an entire tent for the day, glorified cloakroom, that is the Betoota's media tent. Pond, you are probably going to be the only band we interview today, and we are so excited for that because the first band we ever interviewed at Splendour was you two, Jay and Nick.
Full circle.
Thank you very much. We are honoured. We appreciate it. I'd just like to start by saying thank you so much for often, maybe not always, but often including us in the Perth or WA-based posts with Tame Impala.
Now we've also discovered in our interviews yesterday
it's very flattering and we appreciate it.
You know, the whole thing about Freo, Perth, WA, I actually didn't realise it is actually quite a big thing. And Methyl Ethel confirmed that.
What do you mean a big thing?
Well, you all know each other. You all fucking came up together.
Well, they're not that far fetched.
Yeah, it's like in Queensland's equivalent would be like, I'm sure Bernard Fanning met the Violent Soho Boys once, despite the 10 years difference.
Yeah.
Like you guys were all effectively, sharing Ubers together to gigs.
In a city of what, couple of million people, you're just hanging out, being
when
friends.
they're a similar age, like Methyl, Ethel, definitely. I mean, people in our band have been. One of the guys is a housemate of the drummer. You know what I mean now. Yeah. But even bands that are older, even like say Eskimo Joe or Carnival or
Jeb.
Jeb. We've known the Nessie from Jeb since we were 16.
Do you guys associate with Perth or Freo?
I would associate Perth generally. Yeah,
I'm getting less embarrassed about going on about Freo more, and being like.
That's good.
Proud of that sort of thing. I think
be proud.
When we just played Primavera and Nick Cave's band was there, and the bass player is from Freo. Yep. He's family friends with a couple of our like oldies and stuff, And I was saying to Martin Case, the bass player, and I was saying, introducing him to someone. Oh, he's from Perth too. And he goes, not Perth, mate, Freo.
Yeah.
He was almost like, don't lump me in with those guys, So that kind of fired me up to be like, you know what? He's right. We're not going up there.
Can we get a little bit of a for the listeners and the tractors on the East Coast, on inland? Give us an equivalent. Like, is Perth Freo basically Sydney Newcastle or Brisbane Goldie? Like, what's the distance between the two?
Closer.
It's closer.
It's more like Sydney. It's further than Sydney Bondi. Further than Sydney Bondi. It's like
Bondi, except
it's not Melbourne Geelong, is it?
No. It's actually like Northcote to St Kilda.
Okay.
Distance and it used to be there wasn't heaps in between, and obviously with sprawl, it's suburbs all the way in between. But our friend Az was telling me about this guy who met in the 80s, who worked on the docks in Freo, and he lived and stayed at Moondine Joe's, the hotel. And he got a taxi every day.
Now the Beaconsfield Hotel.
He got a taxi every day from the docks to the hotel, and he reckons he was telling Az in the late 80s when he was 50 and Az was 25 or whatever, that he'd never been to Perth. And I find it actually completely believable.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
And it's completely believable if you think about... And Az would be like, why don't you just pay an extra $30 and go to the city? He's like, fuck that.
Why would you? Honestly, why would you?
Yeah. And he lived at Moondine Joe's.
Well, what's the point?
So a real estate agent would tell you that Freo is a suburb of Perth.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. It fused a long time ago to the city of Perth.
Yeah.
So what's happening? You have been in England. You haven't.
Yeah, I moved home maybe 4 years ago and had kids and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what's your story now? Where are you located? What are you doing with yourself? How's things?
I'm in Fremantle. Yep. Loving it. I'm
a gardener.
I'm a gardener. See, I'm wearing the jumper right now. Down to earth gardening.
Yeah.
He's a good gardener too.
That's a great branding.
He did our place for the first time ever the other day. It was a really good job.
We're talking landscaping here.
Yeah, like
no, what's that?
just anything you need.
Culture. Is that
Higher brow.
Well, I would love to. That's the goal. That's the future goal to be.
You do other stuff, but with our place, it was like just like a haircut for the whole place. Sort of thing. Yeah.
Are you still making music, man?
Make what?
It genuinely feels a bit like that sometimes.
Last interview, I was like, this guy's ramping up into gardening.
Did he say that last time?
No, there was talk of gardening.
I don't even remember this music
when
stuff.
the pandemic first happened, you jumped in.
That's it.
Yeah. And then you bounced to England.
I did.
And then you're back.
And I was hoping to make a career as a gardener in England, but it didn't quite take off.
How did it feel out there? How did it feel out there at Splendour In The Grass?
Oh, it was fun as. Yeah. I got blinded momentarily when the sun came out. I wasn't used to it, but yeah.
CM Murphy said the sunset is the one you want. The energy changes.
Sunset is it's really fun because ponds, we don't get too many at that slot.
Yeah.
Because we're not quite big enough, especially on the main stage.
Yeah.
And then say Tame Impala, we don't get that anymore. We used to have them. But it is really fun going on when it's light. Then you get the orange of the sunset, and then it's dark by the end, and you still get to use all your strobe lights and visual. You get the whole spectrum of ambience.
Yeah. And
prestige aside, is that the best slot? Like,
I think aside from being the headliner or whatever,
Yeah.
I think that's the most glorious spot at a festival.
The most enjoyable one to play.
Yeah, because you get everything, and people are they're like just texting their friends to meet up to like get on it, like, you know. It's about this time. It's like, all right, where are you? Let's go. Let's like.
Yeah,
let's
the googs are finally kicking in.
The googs are flowing.
That's our friend
But
Joe.
it was really
he plays
nice.
guitar in the band.
It was really nice playing. The sun came out about 5 songs in. Do you remember? Like,
I
came
do,
out
I
blinding, and
remember
that
it blinded
It actually
me.
got a cheer when the sun came over the hill. Did you hear that? Because everyone had been
No.
so wet and
Yeah,
cold the whole
yeah,
weekend.
yeah.
It got a cheer like mid-song, and it had nothing to do with what we were playing.
Isn't it crazy? Climate change has created these emotive responses in us where when we see the sun, we cheer at it.
Yeah.
Maybe we are, how you say, moving backwards. The way people used to worship the sun. Maybe that's not even backwards. Maybe that's not.
Sacrificial lambs at the top of the hill there in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
It felt like that today when the sun came out.
So, as people from the state mostly responsible for climate change, how do you reconcile with pillaging all of Australia and basically our GST covering the roads that take you to your gigs?
We bloody
love
make up for 5% of Australia's GDP.
And I ain't
And I'll
gonna
hear
spend any more
nothing
time
more
on it.
about it.
And if we could just secede already.
If we
wouldn't
could
even
just
be here
become
doing this
an
interview.
independent state, then we wouldn't have to worry about you. No,
Let's just say the
it's
conversation's
shameful.
back
It's
on the
shameful.
table.
It's shameful.
The
Sorry,
conversation
sorry,
of
everybody.
secession is back on the table.
Calm down.
I think that would be a shocking idea.
No, it'll be
Honestly,
absolutely
you guys
shameful.
being from Queensland and North or rural Queensland, you'll be able to relate. Every time I come to Splendour or a big festival in Sydney, or especially in Sydney more than Melbourne maybe, but I forget how quaint people think Perth is. Like, even people I know, my friends, and I see people backstage and they're like, "Oh, you boys are from Perth, aren't you?" Like, and they talk about it like it's
Like
Broken
Adelaide.
Hill or Kalgoorlie.
Yeah.
No, but smaller than Adelaide.
A little
Like,
regional
man,
outpost.
It pretty much is.
Yeah,
Like,
but it's not. But it's 2 million people. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's bigger than Adelaide.
I don't know. In my world, it's really relevant.
It's because all the like, oh, you know, it's the most isolated city in the world. It's all that chat. So they think it's like a human settlement that is doing all right, considering it's got no people
in
and
the
it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
honestly, going to Port Hedland, where most of this money is coming from, you know, the bauxite and zinc and manganese and all that stuff,
Hell
it's
yeah.
actually very, very fucking surreal. Like, it's like going into the land of the giants. You know, you feel tiny. Like
big
these
freights.
massive fucking road trains and trains and yeah, we live in a bizarre part of the world. You know, it's really like catastrophic what we've done with the country there.
You shouldn't wear it too much of that. You guys, you're a gardener, mate. You're not a fly floater. But I do want to ask, there's a lot of state pride in WA, as there is in Queensland. So you look at someone like Vile Soho, Queensland royalty, Powderfinger, Queensland royalty, and everyone fucks with them. From the quaint musicians to the fucking, you know, hard-headed coal miners. Do you find a bit of a spread in your audience? Do you find people fuck with you purely because they love seeing local boys get up, even though you're living completely different lives?
Nah.
No. Do you think it's a music thing?
Yeah, no, I don't know if WA people are as proud as Queenslanders.
Yeah, right.
My flight to Townsville, which we're going to talk about, I did was Perth to Brisbane to Townsville, because I have to do 2 flights with the kids. And on Brisbane to Townsville, it was maybe like 8 p.m, like kind of late. The kids were sort of half asleep, and this couple next to us was watching the State of Origin game,
The rugby league.
loving it.
Hell
you know,
yes.
we like I don't know if you know a bit more than me, but for us, rugby league, it's like it may as well be. It's the same as AFL is there. It's like it may as well be American football.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
I have no
and
idea.
And at the
I
end,
don't understand these emotions that are happening next to me.
yeah, exactly. And at the end of the flight, they'd been cheering and carrying on and drinking white wine, those little white wine bottles. And at the end of the flight, he came over to I was holding my daughter who's 6 months old. And I wasn't offended or anything. It was hilarious. But when she was asleep and he came right into her face and went, "Queenslander!"
Oh, yeah.
And she sort of stirred a bit. And I said, she doesn't care. She's AFL, you know. And we laughed, but it was just funny. Like, a foot away from a sleeping baby's
Oh
face.
my God.
Such was the passion of that win, and
It was a hell of a match.
And I know nothing about rugby league, but our tour manager liked it, and he said it was one of the best games he'd ever seen of State of Origin. Yeah.
Good enough to say it to a sleeping baby.
Yell it.
Yeah.
Queensland.
And he would have drawn out the R.
You're lucky it was kind of a moderate thing he yelled at her. He could have said something, how you say, rather radical, the North has risen. The North will rise. The North remembers.
Yeah.
Lot of kind of, staunch north of the Tweed patriotism. A lot of rhetoric getting around over the last couple of weeks. But in our minds, WA is always like that. Watching you blokes carry on during the pandemic with the fucking, North Korea kind of chat that we were going on. It's like, there is an element of that. McGowan won a landslide election, and we're not talking politics here because we're just talking about sentiment.
No.
We're talking sentiment.
Yeah, that's fine.
He won people that had never voted for him ever outside of a pandemic because of how much shit he was talking about everyone else.
Talking about shooting down planes. Anything coming over.
It's crazy because before then we were...
So he should.
Before then, someone like me was sort of like, I don't know, ambivalent towards him. And then since I've been quite annoyed at him and their setup because I haven't been able to get home, or I've been like all this sort of stuff. My family haven't been able to visit. But right when that election was, I reckon literally everyone was just we were all so smug on how much we could still go to the pub and stuff.
Yeah.
He just, it came at the optimum time. And I think that election is the most successful Australian election in state or federal ever.
Yeah, for sure.
By a long way.
Libs are now
all of us
party.
like, yep.
Mate, the Libs have 3 MPs, and one of them's just been done for sex crimes or something. So they've got 2.
But McGowan was also saying that he would, if they didn't let the giant Scarborough gas hub go ahead, then he would legislate to make sure it went ahead. Yeah. So he's got a couple of problems on his own side.
Yeah. But,
they all,
Yeah, he's spun it. He's put the people first on paper, and they voted on it.
But I mean,
people first on paper, but in reality, the gas and coal industry.
But your average person, all I was talking about was the average person.
Yeah,
I was being the common man in WA, and all they had in their brain was COVID.
Keep the bastards out.
And we love
keep those dirty East Coasters out.
And there's this thing in Perth too, which I know because I'm from the country, and lived in Sydney a bit when I was a kid. But I've noticed all my life in Perth, where I reckon everyone there would be happy if no one else ever came in, and no one that they knew in Perth ever left or moved away from Perth.
Well, that's also
we
the
just
thing.
had the same. We had the same 2 million people sit there indefinitely. Maybe go to Bali every now and then.
Did you notice the Wagsit?
Yeah.
Signs actually.
Yeah, they were real
and this
signs,
is real life. Wags in shops that we would frequent. They would have Wagsit.
Yeah.
It's actually real, and this is the most bizarre.
That's the thing everyone doesn't
crazy
realise
idea.
in Sydney, because they're saying, "Oh, Anastasia, oh McGowan, they're crazy. Why would they shut the borders? Their voters must hate them." But when you really think about it, think about the people you know, even the people that you're close to, and people you would consider quite worldly because you're musicians.
Yeah.
Even I reckon, of all of WA, probably 5% of the people there have a family member not living down the road. You know what I mean?
That's about right.
You put the borders. You don't give a fuck. One person in the suburbs got a son in Melbourne.
Exactly.
They don't.
And even those of us who would travel lots for our job were stoked to have the time off. I got government money for the first time in my life. With the
JobKeeper.
Yeah, the JobKeeper.
I was like, it's more than pond.
That was a beautiful moment.
We called it Scotialism.
Yeah, Scotialism. Yeah, Scotialism.
Well, it's good to see you back out here making real money, and
thank you.
We're very happy to have you again. As I said, first ever interview at Splendour, 3rd interview with the boys, and next year we'll do it again.
We'd love
Same
it.
time.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
My friend Hatchie, Harriet, who plays in Hatchie, said to me before that the Queensland Premier was watching our set today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, she'd be here. Yeah.
She's here. She's
The
got blonde
Shay.
hair, and she's here at Splendour right now.
Yeah.
What do we call
she's
it?
on
The
a high
Shay? The
because
pal?
of Queenslander.
Pal.
And what do you call her? The Shay?
Oh, well, Murdoch was calling her Nanastasia because of the COVID nanny state.
Okay,
But I think they just call her Anna.
Murder.
Anna-
Jerry canned.
Harriet said Anna was watching our set, so
The
it's pretty
Polish
wild.
spelling of Anastasia gets a bit difficult, so they just call her
Yes,
Anna.
Anna.
So,
See, good on you, Annie.
Thank you.
thanks for joining us, boys, and
Thanks, fellas.
let's rip in.
Thanks,
Cheers,
guys.
legends.